Jesus Christ, because that is a name of God. Jesus Christ is God. And so what the New Testament prohibits, we're warned in the New Testament against careless, presumptuous use of the Lord's name. So, first of all is, of course, the obvious thing with most of us, using God's name in profanity. Colossians 3, verse 5 and 8, I want to look at that from the Amplified. Colossians 3. Verse 5 and 8. Or 5 through 8. Now Paul says it like this in the King James. It says, "Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth: fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. For which things' sake the wrath of God comes on the children of disobedience, into which you also walked sometime when you lived in them. But now you also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth." Now, I want to look at this from the Amplified, because the Amplified does give us a little bigger breakdown and stretches out a little bit for us. And get more water here. It says, so kill. That's what that word mortify means. Mortify means kill. So kill, or it can mean deaden, or deprive of power. Deprive of the power. Take away the power. The evil desire lurking in your members, those animal impulses and all that is earthly in you that is employed in sin: sexual vice, impurity, sensual appetites, unholy desires, and all greed and covetousness. For that is idolatry, the deifying of self and other created things instead of God. I probably could and probably should have maybe tied this verse when we were talking about idolatry, the second commandment, or the first commandment, because Paul says here that these things he's mentioned here are idolatry. They're out of an idolatrous spirit. He said it is on account of these very sins that the holy anger of God is ever coming upon the sons of disobedience, those who are obstinately opposed to the divine will. Know anyone like that? Among whom you also once walked yourself. In other words, you were one of them before you were converted, before you came to Christ. You also walked among them when you were living in and addicted to such practices. How many of you know addiction goes beyond just drugs? It goes beyond just alcohol. But there's all kinds of things that we can allow our flesh to get addicted to. And I believe that one of those things is using God's name in vain, in profanity and things like that. I know some people who use it so much they don't even think about it. They've done it so much till it's just second nature to them. They don't think it offends anyone. There's another word that's used very popular in movie stuff now, and y'all know what I'm talking about. There's one four-letter word that people use quite frequently that used to, it would have been just an absolute atrocious blasphemy to speak that word, much less do it in movies, have it in movies, use it in movies. Wow. But now it's so common and vile. And people's sensitivity has gotten so crusted over to it until they don't. And in Hollywood, they think everybody on the planet talks that way. They think everybody uses that kind of language. It's nothing unusual. Everybody uses that language. Well, I got news for them. Everybody don't use that language, and it's still offensive to many of us. And Bonnie and I, we get to watch a movie, and at the front of that movie, it starts throwing. And I hate to have to do that sometimes, because sometimes the movie's going to be interesting, it looks like. and you're gonna get enthralled in, but they start throwing those words out. The remote goes, we cut it off, and so anyway, addiction can run in every facet of the fleshly realm in life. But now, put away and rid yourselves, he says, completely of all these things. Now, first, now notice he put the responsibility on us, you, plural. Put now away, rid yourselves. You put away and rid yourselves completely of all these things: anger, rage, bad feelings towards others, curses and slander, and foul-mouthed abuse and shameful utterances from your lips. And look here, you don't have to be an out-and-out sinner for that to apply. Again, we as God's people, James said, talking about the tongue, when he was talking about tongue, he was talking to Christians. And he said the tongue is set on fires of hell. And we've got to guard it, we've got to bridle it, we've got to keep it under control. And Lord, that responsibility lies with us. So we can see in that passage, when Paul says, mortify your members, which are upon the earth, and he names all these things that we're to kill or to dead, to detract these things of the power over our lives. Take away the power these things have over our lives. And he says these things are idolatry, that they are idolatrous, or from an idolatrous spirit. And so, in referring to these verses, when I was studying, I read one commentator who described, referring to these verses, this passage we just read in Colossians, he described this as do-it-yourself idolatry. Do-it-yourself idolatry. Christians are to be actively involved in developing Christ-like behavior, and that includes watching how we talk. And blasphemy and filthy language must be banished in favor of praise and edifying conversation and conduct. So one thing that the New Testament prohibits is using God's name in profanity. Of course, that's pretty much a given amongst most people anyway.